Hello again, everyone. Welcome to 90s to Now. I am Jerry Strauss. Of course, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you sharing and subscribing and liking and loving and, doing all those things that you do to help keep our show growing. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us because we have a guest this week that is, I don't think I've used this to describe any of our guests thus far. I think you could say she's kind of magical because many of you may know her best from her time on the hit show Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Of course, you also know her on so many stage productions, Wicked on Broadway and all across the country, and so many other different shows that she has appeared on, had roles in. We've just come to know and love and appreciate everything she does. And she's here, Jenna Leigh Green. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Very
Bu-
nice.
yeah, busy, I'm sure, is the word as always.
I have actually been very busy recently, yes, but that busy is good.
Yeah, absolutely good. And in the midst of all that busyness, I'm going to hit it right off the top because we are excited, especially those of us within reach of the tri-state area of Connecticut, of Hartford. We are going to be seeing you in March for the second year in a row at the biggest collection of 90s stars I have to imagine going on anywhere in the calendar year. It's 90s Con. It's happening again, and you are once again going to be there and taking part in sort of a reunion of sorts with many of your Sabrina the Teenage Witch castmates. Are you excited to go back?
Oh, I absolutely am excited. I do agree with you. I don't think there's anything quite like this. I've been to a handful of different types of conventions and Comic-Con type things, but this one is truly, truly special. Even I am super nervous and excited and blown away by the lineup that they have.
Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity. The cast of Sabrina, we're all spread out all across the country. So, and it's been a minute. So
Mm.
we don't get too many opportunities to all kind of gather together. So we take things like this uh, and really use them as kind of like a reunion for ourselves.
Yeah. It's one of those events where the guests, the stars, you're all having as much fun as everybody attending the show, and it definitely showed last year, and this year is going to be that much bigger. So we're going to get to it, but we want to talk about all things Jenna as well. So to start with, I kind of want to go back to the beginning because I found out something about you that I didn't know before, which is that you actually come from a family of people in the business, of performers, of, you know, people kind of in your line of work, including the fact that you have a twin sister. This makes me wonder, like, what did that look like growing up? Like, because it feels like if there's not a lot of graciousness in the room, there's a mad rush for attention 24/7. Born
Yeah.
performers all over the place.
Well, I'm gonna give you a little bit of honesty.
Yeah.
Did you know that anyone can contribute to Wikipedia and they pretty much just allow it?
Oh,
So,
no.
um, that is true to an extent. But
Okay.
people seem to believe things that they read on the internet as 100% fact, and it's not all fact. I do indeed have a twin sister
Mhm.
named Jessica, and she's amazing and wonderful. She is not a performer at all. When we were both young, I think we both kind of were interested in performing and we thought it was fun, but it was never something my sister was ever going to pursue as a career.
Okay.
Um, and I do somewhat. I come from an entertainment or performer inclined family, but I have read things about my family that I'm like, where in the world did that come from? My mother loves theater. She did theater in high school and in college, and she, was involved in performing arts, but never, professionally. My father was a singer, and he did have an album with a band called the Academics
Okay.
in college. It was just and again, nothing that he pursued,
Mhm.
but he was in a band in college. And I think he's actually from Hartford, Connecticut, which is also a tie-in to 90s Con.
Nice.
Um, but I think that they were on like the local version of American Bandstand when he was, but I mean, he was a teenager.
Mhm.
But I don't come from like a family of professional performers, just very, very artistically inclined, I
And
would say.
this is information. This feels like something that you've yeah, a question you've answered many times before. A lot of people.
Honestly, I actually haven't.
Oh,
No one ever asks me that much. I like I said, it's just interesting because I've read it before, and I'm not interested enough to go through the little nitty bitty things that are listed, that I'm like, well, that's not true.
yeah.
But to try and figure out how to take these things down, I just don't care that much. But I do think that from time to time I have been questioned about, my performing arts professional family. And I will say that as far as it being a profession, it was just me. But
Yeah.
my family loves the arts and is huge supporters, and in their youths definitely enjoyed it.
That's cool. That's cool. And I apologize for being the
No,
lone
not at
sucker
all.
to push it this far into the interview.
No, it's
But
okay. No, I mean, my family would be thrilled. They love, love, love everything about performing. They just didn't pursue it as a career.
and I'm glad we were able to publicly address it now. Finally, the elephant in the room that's been sitting around for way too long in your life. So I'm glad we were
No,
able to
I
deal
wouldn't
with
say
that.
that.
As a twin, though, I want to
Mhm,
ask you this, and this is has nothing to do with performing arts or anything. I was kind of speaking in jest earlier, but uh, I'm always curious about the life growing up of a twin because I've had twins very close to me in my life. And I
mhm,
feel like it makes for an interesting kind of mindset of um, always seeking your own individuality in a way because the world wants
mhm.
to kind of lump you together as this pair. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
always kind of looking for your own individuality. Do you feel like that's something you felt and affected you growing up?
Um, I mean, I don't know that I would say that it affected me, at least not negatively.
Mm,
People ask me all the time what it's like to be a twin, and my question back is, well, what's it like to not be a twin? Because the only experience I have is the one that I know.
yeah,
But I will agree with you. We were very often just referred to as the girls. The girls are here. Oh, the
yeah,
girls this, the girls that, and even family members would mix up our names, not because we're identical, because we actually are not identical, but just because it was, we were just thought of so much as just a pair,
yeah,
that sometimes it almost seemed as if names were inconsequential.
yeah,
But I absolutely, yes, you learn how to share very, very, very early, maybe even earlier than any other siblings or only children,
mm,
because people will come to a birthday party and they don't necessarily think to bring two gifts, they bring one,
yeah,
which is fine. Gifts are not what, a party is about. But when you're 6, you kind of want your own stuff.
yeah.
Um, but I don't have any other experience than being my sister's twin, and I am so grateful for it. But I will say that she was much more of a showy, kind of always on, much bigger personality than I
Mm,
ever was. I was actually somewhat the shy one.
mm,
And I think performing was something that helped to bring me out of that shell. When I first started doing it, I loved it. And I could be anyone. I could be anyone. I didn't have to be myself. I could be all these different people and pretend to do all these things that I wasn't doing in real life. And I just absolutely loved it. But I would say that my sister was much more of a, ha cha cha, look at me kind of person than I was. I followed her.
She was the performer 23 hours of the day, and you were the performer that other hour when you were actually on stage.
I would say that I was my sister's backup dancer.
Oh, there you go. Well, it wasn't very late in your life. I mean, it was so early on in your career that you got the role on Sabrina.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm really interested because that's a major, I mean, that was, TGIF, ABC, like that's a major, major opportunity. How did you come to get the role of in Sabrina?
I mean, I suppose I was very fortunate because I grew up in the Los Angeles area.
Mhm.
Not, not really in my mind, it, seemed so far away. I grew up in the suburbs of Ventura County, but it was close enough that resources were available. And like I said, I grew up doing theater. Ventura County, where I grew up, has a ton of really great community theaters.
Oh, nice.
It's not professional, but it feels like it is. They're doing really great quality stuff. Actually, when I was a teenager, this is before Sabrina, I did a production of The Secret Garden, the musical, and Amanda Bynes was the star of the show. She was Mary Lennox.
Wow.
And she will actually also be at 90s Con, and I haven't seen her. I don't know
Mm.
how long. I don't even know if she'll remember me, but I was Martha, she was Mary. So this was a fantastic production. So I had all of these resources available to me, and then it was through one of those productions when I was very young that there happened to be, a manager, a theatrical manager in the audience, and kind of approached me after the show and asked if this was something I wanted to pursue professionally. And I think my parents were a little skeptical because they knew how much work it would be for them,
Yeah, sure.
driving me places and figuring it all out. But they were supportive, and I really wanted to try. And um, uh, Sabrina it was not my first job by any means, but it was definitely in there in the first couple of years of
Yeah.
me, like, really, pursuing this professionally. I had done a pilot the year before for a show that I was the star of, and I was so excited and thought that this was going to be everything. And they ended up going with the show, and I was replaced for many, many reasons.
Oh, no.
Um, yeah, it happens all the time. It
Yeah,
happens all the
sure.
time. But I was pretty devastated.
Mm.
And then I had auditioned the next pilot season for actually a different kind of 90s show, which was Clueless,
Ah.
and had gotten pretty far in the casting process for that. Didn't get it, but the same casting director was very shortly thereafter casting Sabrina, and she remembered me,
Mhm.
and she brought me in, and that's how it went. And I actually auditioned for the role of the best friend first before
Oh,
auditioning for Libby.
interesting. Who was,
Uh-huh.
just out of curiosity, who was the character you were semi-positioned to possibly play on Clueless?
Ty.
Okay,
Which didn't
interesting.
end up which didn't I don't think that ended up being a series regular. It kind of was when I was auditioning for it, but I think it ended up kind of being more of a secondary character. It's a
The
great character though.
Yeah, they
Um,
shifted, so they
you
shifted
know
the whole kinda, as you said, these things happen and things get
Yeah,
reimagined and re-envisioned, and you ended up where you were supposed to be, and,
exactly.
I mean, you're forever Libby. I mean, there should be a forever Libby t-shirt. My
There should be. That would be fun.
I
Maybe
well,
they'll sell it at 90s Con.
I can't imagine that they won't. What was it like playing Libby? Because you got to be kind of like, believe it or not, I mean, it's funny to say, but you were sort of like the bad girl of TGIF. Like you were
Mhm.
like that girl. Like how I'm obviously so very different than your real life nature and personality. Was it fun to step in there and kind of ham it up and be the bad girl?
Absolutely. I mean, to go with our prior conversation, that is the most popular question I get asked.
Okay.
What is it like to play the mean girl? I mean, who would not enjoy it? If you're an actor, that's what you want to do for a living, and then you get the opportunity to go and work on this really great show that has so much warmth and love and humor, and then you get paid to say these horrendous things and be mean, and then the end of the day comes and we all go for dinner together because we all really were close friends. Melissa and I ended up um living down the street from each other, so we would I would go over to her place all the time, and everybody would. We really all would hang out when we weren't working. So it was just a blast to get out any aggression or get out any, all of the things you want to say in real life that you kind of hold your tongue.
Mm.
Libby didn't really hold her tongue. So it was as much fun as it seems.
Well, it had to be an interesting, a bonding experience for one, but an interesting and maybe a bit of a challenging atmosphere for you guys to create this show season after season because And this kind of reminds me of, for those of you who've been checking out our videos, go back in the archives, check out interviews with, people like Andrea Barber from Full House, conversations about beyond just the normal sitcom scene, how there was all the, there's challenges, there's kids, there's animals, there's all these things in the mix of a unique show like that one was, like
Oh,
Full
yeah.
House, that made it go from being kind of a simple process to sometimes hours of extra time, trying to pull off certain scenes.
Oh,
Sabrina was
yeah.
unique too because you guys had like special effects. You had,
Yeah, well, people think all the time that our show was a multicam, filmed before an audience type show, and it was
right.
not.
No.
There was no way that we could do that. So we kind of started our week, on Mondays and Tuesdays, and we did rehearse it as though it would be, filmed for an audience. We had rehearsal all day Monday and Tuesday,
Okay.
which is different than a single cam half hour as well. So our show was definitely a hybrid of the two. We would do a table read on Mondays, we would break for lunch, they would do rewrites, and then we would get right on the stage and we would go through in order rehearsing the show. And
Okay.
then we'd wake up Tuesday morning, there'd be another rewritten script that had been delivered, and we would go through and rehearse any changes and really set everything. And then Wednesday morning, bright and early,
Mm.
shooting started, and we would do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, anywhere from honestly 12 to 16-hour days. Sometimes Fridays would go, way into the middle of the night.
Mm.
So it was a pretty grueling schedule because of the way we had to shoot the show and all of the special effects and talk about. I mean, we had everything from monkeys to zebras to cats to mechanical cats to robotic cats to real cats to, I mean, every animal you can think of. We also had the pleasure of every guest star you could ever imagine. So we were always working around those schedules as well. So it as much fun as it was also an immense amount of hard work on everyone's part.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Saying goodbye to the show and moving on and really putting so much of your focus of your career, so many TV roles, but also so many different theatrical roles. Did you
Mhm.
kind of discover, or did you always know that theater and being on a live stage in front of an audience, has that always been sort of the primary passion for you, would you say?
No.
No.
I would say that it is absolutely a passion of mine, but I do think that something that is very widely misunderstood, at least in my opinion, of actors and professional performers, is that you choose one, or you have, I mean, some certain people I'm sure do have a favorite, um medium that they prefer, but for a lot of us, I just, I grew up on the stage. Always loved musical theater. And if that's where my life had taken me, through school and straight to New York City, and that was it for me, I'm sure that that would have been a wonderful life.
Yeah.
I happen to, have the honor of also working in television and working in film. But it's funny because I hear from people a lot who will say, "Oh, you know, how come you don't do TV anymore? How come you decided you just wanted to be a theater actress?" And it boggles my brain when I hear that, because if you do have an interest in a performer, there are many resources. The internet is your friend, and you can find out that people that you think, oh, she doesn't do TV anymore. She because I, moved to New York and did Wicked.
Right.
Um, I have a pretty strong, steady career of many films and many television shows, as well as I happen to love being on stage. So I go where the job is.
Yeah.
If somebody presents an opportunity my way, I feel so fortunate that I can cross between the different mediums. But I never gave up television to do theater, or decided I don't want to do theater anymore, I want to do TV again. I just welcome any opportunity that comes my way, and I love them all. There are challenges and also amazing things about each and every form of performing. Television and film has its hurdles and also amazing things, and doing a show 8 times a week has a lot of things that are really tough, but also a lot of things that are really rewarding. So I look for wonderful projects. And
It,
sometimes you're just looking for a job.
It's a great segue because I wanted to ask you about something, and now I'm a little scared to ask you because I got it
Yeah.
from the internet. So I hope it's true. Is it true that you were a part of, and this is going back to 2002, of one of the original incarnations of the Pussycat Dolls?
Yes, that is true.
Okay, that is a thing that happened. So I'm curious
Mhm,
then, talking about, your just overall passion for performing,
mhm.
was that a bit of a different itch that was scratched doing that? Because that's a commitment, and it's work, and also a labor of love all in one, but in a much different direction than everything else we're talking about.
So that was something that came my way in such a random uh, I can't even explain. I had I had worked on a project for quite a few years, actually a stage musical called Bear that started in Los Angeles, and then that ended up bringing me to New York the first time in 2004. But in between the Los Angeles production and the New York production, I was living in LA, and the director of that show was the director of the Pussycat Dolls show at the Roxy, I believe, in on Sunset Boulevard.
Mhm.
And I had just done her a favor and I had recorded some songs
Hmm.
for Robin Anton, the creator of Pussycat Dolls, to use for her dancers.
Okay.
So they were rehearsing to me singing some of the songs.
Mm.
And so one day, this is the story that I got. One day, Robin went to Kristen Henge, who was the director, and she said, the girl who's singing on these tracks, I think I want to put a girl in a swing and have the vocal performer do it live instead of the girls dancing to canned music. What if
Yeah.
we put a girl in a swing and had her sing live? She said, and of course she said, what does she look like? Can I put her in the show? So Kristen reached out to me and said, hey, this is a crazy thing. This would be, it was like a 6 week commitment. It was a short commitment for me, and it was like, I think it was one, maybe 2 nights a week, maybe it was like Friday nights, maybe Saturday nights as well, and it didn't even start until 11 p.m. I think there was 2 shows, 11 p.m. and a 12:30 p.m. show,
Oh,
or
wow.
AM, I should say, and we
Yeah.
always had a crazy huge celebrity guest,
Mhm.
and I was like, "This is something I will never get the chance to do again, so why would I say no to this?" How insane. We had the types of people that came to see this show, it blew my mind, and
Yeah.
there was me just dressed like a pussycat doll. I've never had hair and makeup done like this before in my life, and the wardrobe was barely there, and I sat in this swing, and I was the singer for the dancers.
That's awesome. That's awesome,
Yeah,
and clearly a fond memory. So
absolutely.
very awesome. One of many in your career, and so many different things to talk about that. I wish we could. Um, I know you're limited on time, and I know that also we're gonna have an opportunity. Are you guys going back to 90s Con? Of course, this happens in March. I think we're
Mhm.
talking 17th, 18th, and 19th. You'll be there all three
I think
days.
so, yeah. Yeah.
Um, are you guys doing another uh, Sabrina Q&A or some sort of a forum where you're?
I cannot imagine that we won't do one,
Mm,
but I actually haven't been given a schedule yet.
okay.
So I can't answer that question with 100% certainty, but I'm assuming there will be something like that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there's so many cool conversations that people who are attending these shows can be privy to, just catching up
Yeah,
with different combinations of people catching up with each other all at the same time, like you
absolutely.
said.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great. And, I know you're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to seeing you there. You've got so many other things coming up also
Mhm.
in the works for yourself and things that you're doing. And we know how active you are on Instagram. So I know that
Yes,
you
I
update
am.
everyone as
I do.
to when things are coming. Where can they follow you on Instagram?
It's just my name as it is spelled, Jenna Lee Green.
Cool.
And that is my handle on Instagram. I am very active and I am always posting whenever I've got anything going on. If I've got a television show airing, a film that's coming out, or I'm working on something new theatrically, I'm always conscious about letting everybody know.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for taking a break in your day and catching up with us. We're excited to see you. We're excited to see you in person. We're excited to see you in Hartford, and we're excited to see everything else that you've got coming up this year and beyond. So thank you
Thank you
once
so
again.
much. Really
Okay.
nice to chat with you.
You too, and thank you guys for checking us out one more time here on 90s to Now. Share, subscribe, like, love, and please keep us growing. And we thank you all. Thanks, Jenna.